People everywhere are starting to listen to him. He's going on French, British, Italian, Japanese television.
This is the Wide World of Weingarten.
Wide World of Weingarten, March 4th, Friday. Sorry about the lack of episodes the last couple days. Had some technical difficulties with the microphone. Had to figure out how to get it to work. And now we're here. The good news is you probably did not miss anything when it came to golf. Anything I probably would have given out is not doing so hot right now. Also, I ended up not betting a lot just because I could not find a ton of things that excited me on these betting cards. Although I did get some bets in Kenya that are looking good. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But the Mlb season is delayed. Looks like it's going to be delayed indefinitely for the next month at least. Excuse me. Yeah, I think it doesn't seem like the owners and the players were ever really close to a deal, and I'm guessing just kind of reading between the lines and some of the economics that have been laid out, the owners are content to sit out the first month or so of the season. They know those games aren't particularly profitable to begin with, and nobody's going to miss them. So I'm expecting we are probably going to lose 20 to 25 games at this point at the minimum. And, we'll see news leak out every couple days, weeks, whatever. But I've mentioned before, I think the worst part is losing the spring training. And, right now we should be talking about spring training bets and betting spring training daily and talking about using spring training to help build bankroll, et cetera, et cetera. Instead, we're sitting here talking about the NFL Combine, which is surprisingly one of my least favorite things to talk about. I don't know when this shift in turning the Combine into a spectacle where every drill has to be analyzed became a thing, but it is, and it's clogging my Twitter feed with nonsense. Although actual important news that came out of combine drills and stuff yesterday, Ryan Pickett, one of the top quarterbacks in the 2022 draft, potential QB number 1, his hands measured at 8.5 inches. I'm sure you've heard this if you follow any draft stuff, but that's a half an inch smaller than Jared Goff. It would mean he has the smallest hands of any starting quarterback in the NFL. That is somewhat of a career killer. I hate to say it, but that's going to drop him on a lot of draft boards for a lot of teams. You can fix bad footwork. You could fix bad throwing motions. You can't fix small hands. There's no way for an organization to fix a flaw like that. So likely going to see him drop down the draft board, and he will be out of the QB number 1 discussion, which means Sam Howell and Malik Willis will likely battle it out for QB number 1. My money would be on Malik Willis at this point, but still enough time for that to change. We'll definitely go through draft odds when they start popping up at books with bigger limits like Circa. As far as golf, I mentioned, I did not end up betting much in the Arnold Palmer. I think, I don't have anything at all near the top. I have John Rahm. I bet him live at like 14-1. I see he's 2 under. He can always get hot, but not really expecting much there. Christian Bezuidenhout. Let's see where he is. Right now, he's at 1 over. Still looks like he can make the cut, but nothing particularly exciting. Matt Wolff, I found an off-market number on him for a top 20 at 28-1. That should have been like 4-1. It's basically a fat finger error when you're copying numbers from one book to another. Sometimes guys put in an extra 0 or misread a line. It's one of the risks of copying is you don't know what you're doing and you can't catch mistakes. So I bet Matt Wolff 28-1 to get a top 20. He's probably still not going to come close, but you gotta take bets like that any chance you get. I do find that golf top 5s, top 10s, top 20s offshore tend to have the most fat finger errors, so always keep that in mind. Then there's the senior tour today. It's in Orange County, Hogue Classic. I ended up passing on this tournament just because I thought the odds were not very compelling. Like Woody Austin, who I bet at 40-1 last week, is 20-1. Not going to back him at that number. Mostly, I'm not sitting out this golf weekend by any means. Sorry, I'm trying to see what Victor Hovland's live odds for second round leader are right now as I'm doing this. Yeah, I just ended up not betting a ton on golf this week. So, like I said, you really didn't end up missing a lot from having a 2-day hiatus because of tech problems. But in Kenya, where I did have a couple bets pre-flop, as Gil says, and I added a couple things live early. Thurston Lawrence, who I've talked about several times on this show, is last seen recently winning in South Africa in December before the Omicron wave swept through sports. He won a shortened tournament in South Africa and now has Euro Tour status. He's tied for 4th. I have him top 10. I have him to win. That'd be a nice little win if he wins. Kawamura is tied for 2nd. I have a little bit on him. Would be about a third of the price of the win as Thurston Lawrence, but still, winning's winning, especially without baseball. So my focus for golf this weekend is likely going to be in Kenya. The Puerto Rico Open, I got nothing. I like this leaderboard it's like a Corn Ferry group for all intensive purposes. But yeah, Victor Hovland's currently the leader at the Arnold Palmer. Rory's yet to tee off for round 2. Not much else exciting near the top of the leaderboard besides them. Billy Horschel right there behind him, but yeah, I just didn't get involved much in this tournament unless John Rahm always wants to make a run. That would be cool. But yeah, so not as exciting as a golf week as I anticipated, even with 4 or 5 tournaments. But I did end up selling some baseball cards this week. I wanted to talk about baseball cards for a bit. Haven't done much of that lately. The highlight of my sales this week was a PSA 9 Sparkle Refractor Jared Kelnick card. If you see, I'm trying to hold it up to the camera. If I get it in the right light, it's sort of got this little rainbow sparkly thing on it, and people tend to like that. I think graded cards are kind of weird to me because I think the PSA case is like, at least it's sleek and flat, and you can kind of stack them and keep them nicely organized. But I don't really like graded cards because it takes away a little bit for me. Like, same thing with comic books. Like, I have comic books. I don't have a ton of them, but like the ones I have, I want to read them. I bought them for looking at the art or for doing something with them. I don't understand putting your card behind huge pieces of plastic and not being able to do anything with it, which is the other cards I sold were Beckett graded cards. You see the Beckett case. It's a little thicker, little boxier. I personally think this case is ugly. I have no desire to display Beckett cards. I think they're boxy, and I mean, you could throw this at somebody and kind of like hit them in the head and mess them up kind of good with it. Says a lot about the boxiness of the plastic. But yeah, this is a Tristan Casas card. He's a Red Sox prospect, and I sold this card probably a little early. I could have made more money if I held on to it going into the season. I think he has a chance to be Rookie of the Year. He might be better than Bobby Dahlbeck. Could be a first base DH kind of guy for the Red Sox. But this is an 8.5, a Beckett 8.5, and frankly, I think 8s and 8.5s are kind of a weird number for modern cards for grading, because like, are you gonna be happy with an 8.5? Like an 8.5 is like telling me I got a B. This card's a B average grade card. Do you want a B? You know, like I don't want a B average grade card. I want A's. I'm not going to display it. I'm not going to do anything with it, so I sold it. I got about $200 for it. Probably slightly less than it's worth, but you know, like I say, it's your problem now, not mine. It's going to go in the mail today. And then I sold a purple Jared Kelnick first Bowman. Jared Kelnick, same guy as the other card. He was a rookie on the Mariners last year, and he's an interesting guy because he's already turned down an extension to buy out his ARB years. He's told the Mariners he will explore free agency. There's some animosity between him and the organization too that I think is going to make him most likely leave the organization sooner than the organization would like. They'll likely have to trade him before his first contract is up. He also just changed agents to Wasserman, so they will be aggressive. And you know, the Mariners just don't have a good track record of treating their star players very well recently. I mean, go ask Kyle Seager what his relationship with the team he played for 10 plus years is, 9 years, whatever. But yeah, I'm worried that the potential for an extended lockout won't necessarily kill the card market, because the card market itself is super fragmented. You know, the high-end stuff is really immune to what's going on or off the field. You know, the what happened yesterday in a lot of cases is not particularly relevant to high-end cards. But the middle market, the bottom of the market, the buying boxes market, there's a lot of potential for supply to just kind of pile up. If there's no baseball this year, baseball fans are going to lose interest. There's only so much bandwidth you have for sports stuff, and with football and basketball and college sports and everything else going on in the world. Baseball's in a really bad spot, and if a lot of these fans stop buying cards or stop buying as many cards and stop the secondary economy and of grading and flipping, and you know, you could definitely see prices continue to come down. And I think there's an incredible sort of spread between the bid ask right now, where you'll see a card. You know, I've seen cards listed for $5,000 on eBay. Buy it nows that end up selling for $1,500. You know, this is routine. So you have sellers overinflating their prices, and you have buyers who aren't necessarily interested in paying close to what the sellers think the market price is. So it's very likely that we're going to see card prices come down on everything but the Mike Trout, Juan Soto, PSA bracket sort of stuff. So keep that in mind if you're considering investing in cards right now. There's far more deals out there than there are buyers. So you have the opportunity. You absolutely shouldn't be paying, you know, full price for something. You should be able to negotiate anything down at least 10 or 20% if you're buying something over $1,000. But you know, the thing to keep in mind right now, and the reason I was very content on selling these cards going into the lockout, is you really have to decide whether your collection is a collection or if it's inventory. And you know, the point of inventory is to flip it over. And a lot of this stuff was just sitting on my shelf, not gaining enough value and not doing anything for me, with no plans of being displayed or really doing anything with it. So I had to get it back on the market so I can have more capital to buy more cards to keep it going. But yeah, so basically just knowing that there was likely going to be a lockout kind of pushed me to list more cards just to move inventory is the moral of this baseball story. So goodbye, Jared Kelnick. You're going to a new owner. I believe somebody in Washington who is probably a bigger Mariners fan than me is going to be your new owner. So yeah, that's kind of some of my thoughts on what's going on with baseball cards right now. Also, keep in mind that it's very challenging to sell stuff on eBay right now. You can list stuff and it'll sit there for a week with no bids. So you could be aggressive and shorten the auction time to 3 days or whatever, but a lot of stuff's just sitting there right now. I mean, I scour, a couple times a week. I'll go through a list of keywords and just look at stuff I'm interested in, and I see the same thing week after week. Cards have been sitting out there. So if you're pricing your inventory too high, you think you're gonna get $5,000 for a card that's selling $1,500, you're just gonna end up sticking it on eBay 30 days at a time, and it'll just keep relisting when no one buys it, unless you turn on offers. But then you're gonna get a whole bunch of wishy-washy, sort of way below what you're asking offers. So it's a much more thinly traded market than it would seem at the moment. So don't bid against yourself right now with baseball cards. Let the deals come to you is my best advice. And we're gonna take a break real quick so you can hear from our sponsors, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about some NFL draft stuff and how you can actually learn about the NFL draft and not watch the combine. So stay tuned for that. I'll be back in a minute. Welcome back, Wide World of Weingarten. This is the second half of today's show. Just went through some baseball card stuff, some random golf. I mentioned the Kenyan Open. I'm waiting for post-cut odds to appear at other books, DraftKings, Bookmaker, ideally Bookmaker, because I tend to use their numbers as the best market gauge. But yeah, I see Betfair currently has the odds up post-cut. They're the only book I see that I can track right now with post-cut odds, but I see some familiar names near the top, especially Masahiro Kawamura is the second favorite at 4-1, right behind Sharma Subakar Sharma. I can never say his name. He's 3.5-1, so holding second favorite there at 4-1. That's nice from 45.50. Thurston Lawrence trading at 22. If you're interested in a little bit of a weekend punt, I think Thurston Lawrence at 22-1. He's only 2 shots back right now. Let's make sure I'm correct on that. I do believe he's only 2 shots back, but could be 3. Let's see. That's Puerto Rico. Hold on. Yes, he's 3 shots back. Sorry. Yes, 3 shots back, 22-1. I don't think it's the craziest bet I've seen this weekend, but yeah, 22-1. Thurston Lawrence. Think about that. Anyway, I mentioned earlier this week, I probably talked about it on Twitter. I know I haven't had shows the last 2 days, but the combine's going on, and the last couple of years, the combine's kind of turned into a spectacle where every drill is now analyzed and there's a live coverage. And I don't know who decided that the combine needed live coverage, but I don't really like you. There was no reason that we needed to see 40 times televised. It's literally the boringest, one of the most boring things I've seen on television, and we should be watching spring training right now. Instead, I'm getting bombarded on my Twitter timeline with 40 times, and it just drives me crazy. But so I have here a copy of a book. It's called bus, franchise makers. I can't even read the first word of the book because it's been torn off. But it's sleepers, bus, franchise makers, behind the scenes story of the Pro Football Draft, 1936 to present. Written by Cliff Crystal, who was the beat writer for the Green Bay Packers for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel for many years. Now is the Green Bay Packers team historian. So this book only covers up to the mid-1980s. Obviously, that means there's 30 years of, advancements in football that aren't covered. But for my money, this is the most important book on the NFL draft ever written. It has interviews with everybody from George Halas to, everybody who was basically a NFL GM in the 1980s. Jim Finks is in the book. I think he should be in the Hall of Fame if he's not. I always forget if he is or isn't. But this book literally has interviews with every important football person in NFL history, asking their opinions on the NFL draft, what they know about drafting, what they've contributed to drafting. So I'm actually going to go back and reread this weekend, and we'll go through it next week. I'll pull out some of the better excerpts and probably post them on Twitter or something. But yeah, it's incredibly hard to find a copy of this book. It took me years to track down a copy. There's no copies on Amazon. There's no copies on Books. There's nothing available. I needed help from somebody else on Twitter to track down a copy from my own library. But so next week, because there's no baseball, I'm going to go through this book and show you some of the cool stuff that you can apply to the draft, and it'll make you smarter, and you won't have to listen to some of the mainstream draft analysts out there who truthfully have their heads up their asses more often than not. So got a lot of sports stuff to look forward to, at least the next couple weeks. We'll still have golf. I could talk about basketball, but I don't really feel like it's particularly fair for you guys to trust me as an NBA handicapper when I'm admittedly not very good at it. Although I have, like I mentioned on Gil's show, the radio show earlier this week, I've been fading the Lakers with relative success for the last couple weeks. Excuse me. I just don't think the Lakers are a very good team, and Anthony Davis is going to come back and he'll be healthy at some point. But you just look at the guys out there, and they know the deal. They know they're there to play with LeBron, and they're not making LeBron better. And LeBron, for as good of a teammate as he is, and for everything as great as he is, you could just see there's moments where he's getting frustrated. And you could just tell by his body language that he knows that these guys can't carry him, and he has to carry them as much as he can. But he's older. He's 36, 37, whatever. He can't carry teams the way he did in years past. And Dwight Howard and Russell Westbrook are out there just kind of taking up space and not making his job or his life any easier at this point. We're down to about 20 games left in the season, and you look at it with their strength of schedule, and I think it's like the second toughest in the NBA. You think they're just going to turn it on and start winning because it's LeBron? Like, I don't buy that. I'm happy to keep fading them. And fortunately, if you can, you have the access like I do to some West Coast books, living in LA, that they're always going to be heavy on Lakers money, and you can bet the other side at post and know that the book's going to give you a relatively fair number compared to the market. So I will typically just fade the Lakers the last 20 or so games of the season, and hopefully we just continue to watch them implode. I think there's a lot of people that think, LeBron just gets this happy ending and walks off into the sunset, and not going to happen. So keep betting the Lakers. You guys betting the Lakers futures out there, y'all crazy. I'm going to keep fading them every day. That's about the extent of my NBA advice. But yeah, so book-wise, I said we'll go over the draft book next week. It's one of the most important books ever written in football. And then I got this book, The Game. It's about Major League Baseball. It's actually quite interesting, inside the secret world of Major League Baseball's power brokers. I just started reading that. Probably power through that this weekend. I got a couple other books on baseball labor relations coming this week that I'm interested in diving into. And then my book club, my Twitter book club, is currently reading Aberrations in the Heartland of the Real, The Secret Lives of Timothy McVeigh. It's a very interesting book. As we have a month off from baseball, I have more time to continue other research and stuff that I've been working on. So my book club is currently reading the Aberrations in the Heartland of the Real, and I'm reading The Game, and I'm rereading this draft book for next week. And hopefully I'll finish up the 4-volume history of the Green Bay Packers this weekend as well, and we'll have a whole lot of sports stuff to talk about next week. Also, the book Interference, Dan Medella's book, if you're not familiar with Dan Medella or his seminal football work on the NFL, Interference. Highly recommend picking up a copy of that book. I actually looked behind me in my baseball, football sections right over there. You can't see it from here, but I thought I had a copy in my library, and I don't. So I'll have to pick up another copy of that. Modell is mostly known for his book Hoffa Wars, which is also pretty famous. He's an authority on Jimmy Hoffa. And I've read that too. There's a copy right behind me. You can see it right by my head. But yeah, Dan Medella is invited on this show whenever he would like to talk about his experience with the NFL and writing Interference. So hopefully that's something we can also talk about and arrange in the near future. I have a couple guests that I'm trying to arrange, authors mostly, in the near future. So hopefully we can get the ball rolling on that. And yeah, Thurston Lawrence 22-1. If you haven't bet the Kenyon Open, you want to get something down live, that's my guy going into the weekend. And that's about it. Probably do some March Madness stuff next week, and we'll talk more about the lockout and everything. So thanks for listening.